The Letter Through the Snow. If these quiet kingdom stories help you relax, consider liking this video and subscribing, so you don't miss future bedtime stories. Now, just listen. The fire was already burning low when he set out. Not the confident kind of fire. Not the kind that promises safety. But the quiet kind that only reminds you how easily warmth can be lost. Snow had begun before dusk. Thin at first, almost gentle. The road accepted it without complaint. The letter rested inside his coat, pressed flat against his chest, wrapped in oilcloth, sealed with dark red wax. He did not know what it said. He had never asked. Some words were not meant to be carried lightly. The path north had no markers left. Snow softened everything. Stones, ruts, old footprints. Trees leaned inward. Their branches heavy. Their shadows stretched and uncertain. Each step made a sound too loud for comfort. Crunch, pause, crunch. He learned quickly not to rush. Cold punished haste. Night arrived without warning. One moment the world was grey. The next it was dark enough to swallow detail. He left the road and followed instinct, finding a shallow dip where the wind passed over instead of through. There, he knelt and worked with practiced hands. Flint, steel, patience. The fire took slowly. When it did, he fed it only what it needed, no more. Firewood was not endless. From his pack he took bread, hard at the edges, dense in the middle. He broke it, not cut it. Chewed slowly. With it, dried meat, tough and salty. Meant more for keeping the body working than for pleasure. Then fire crackled softly. He held his hands close, listening. The forest answered with creaks and distant shifts, sounds without owners. Sleep never came fully. The ground pressed cold through layers of cloth. Snow gathered on his cloak and melted, then cooled again. He woke often, to the wind changing direction, to the fire settling, to nothing at all. Each time he touched the place where the letter rested. Still there, still warm. Morning brought no color, only white and gray. He returned to the road, only to hear movement ahead. Then the men, 3 of them, poorly dressed, poorly fed. Desperate men are the most dangerous. They searched him, took what they could, left him breathing. When they vanished, the cold felt sharper, as if it approved of what had happened. He did not travel far that day. Fear weighed more than snow. By evening, the storm thickened. Snow fell in earnest now, erasing distance. He built another fire, smaller than the first. This time, he only had bread and a little water, and the last of the dried meat. He ate slowly, blowing on each mouthful, letting warmth spread through him inch by inch. Food tasted better in cold, not because it was good, but because it worked. The days blurred. Walk, stop, warm hands, walk again. Sometimes he sang quietly to himself, not for joy, but to remind his lungs they still worked. Snow crept higher with each mile. His boots stiffened, his breath burned, but the leather stayed dry, always dry. On the final night before the walls appeared, the storm reached its worst. The wind screamed. Snow struck like thrown sand. He found shelter beneath rock and root, barely enough. The fire fought the wind, lost, fought again. He ate the last of his bread. Nothing left now but water and will. He sat wrapped in his cloak, watching the flames struggle, thinking of the king, of rooms where fire never went out, of walls that held winter at bay. Morning brought silence. The storm had moved on. The world stood still beneath fresh snow. That was when he saw it. First a shadow, then lines, then stone rising from white. Walls, torches, order. He walked until his legs stopped arguing. At the gate, he spoke. "I carry a letter," he said, "for the king." The guards looked at him carefully, then stepped aside. Inside, warmth returned slowly. Pain followed it. He was giving soup, thick, steaming. Bread that tore easily. A place by the fire. The letter changed hands. Wax broke. The king read. History shifted. Quietly. The messenger rested. Outside, snow fell again. Inside, the fire burned. The road lies empty now. The fire settles, and the night continues without hurry. The room they led him into was small, but it felt larger than any place he had been in days. Not because of space, but because of warmth. A fire burned steadily in the hearth, not struggling, not pleading, just burning. Stone walls held the heat carefully, as if they had learned over centuries how to protect it. Snow tapped softly against the window. The sound distant, unimportant now. He removed his gloves slowly. His fingers ached as feeling returned. A deep, dull pain, followed by warmth that spread unevenly. He welcomed it. A servant brought him dry clothes, wool that did not smell of road or smoke, fabric that fell softly instead of stiffly. As he changed, he noticed how quiet the room was. Not empty quiet, safe quiet. The kind that lets the body rest without asking permission. He sat near the hearth, wrapped in a blanket thicker than anything he owned. Outside, snow continued to fall. It moved differently now, less violent, more patient. Flakes gathered on the stone sill, stacking carefully, as if the storm itself was catching its breath. He held a cup of broth in both hands, Steam rose. He drank slowly. Each swallow felt like it reached places the cold had claimed and gently asked them to leave. Time moved strangely inside the walls. There was no wind here to measure it, no road, only fire, and the quiet sound of snow against stone. Eventually, footsteps came, measured, unhurried. A guard stood at the door. "The king will answer," he said simply. The letter returned to him heavier than before. Different wax now, a new seal. He did not touch it directly. He knew better. This letter was not his. It belonged to the road, to the cold, to whatever waited beyond the gates. "You will leave at first light," the guard said. The messenger nodded. He felt no fear this time, only readiness. He slept deeply, not dreamlessly, but without interruption. The fire burned all night. Someone had tended it. Morning arrived gently. Grey light filtered through the window, revealing a world remade. Snow lay clean and untouched inside the walls, as if the storm had paused to admire its work. He dressed slowly. Dry boots, thick socks, a cloak heavier than the one he arrived in. They gave him food for the road. Bread still warm from the oven. Salted meat wrapped carefully. A small flask of something stronger than water. He secured the letter inside his coat, pressed it flat against his chest, the same place as before. The gates opened with a sound that echoed, longer than necessary. Cold rushed in, not angry, expectant. He stepped forward, paused, then crossed the threshold. Outside the walls, the world felt larger, quieter. Snow reflected light softly now, turning the land pale and calm. His breath formed clouds again. His boots found rhythm. Crunch, pause, crunch. The kingdom faded behind him slowly. He did not look back. Letters did not belong to places. They belonged to journeys. The fire behind him burned on. The road ahead waited. And somewhere far away, another hearth would soon hear the sound of snow and a knock at the door. The night continues. So does the story.